Okay, masthead light is placed on the center line looking forward 225 degrees across the horizon. Looks forward, always white, and if you can see the masthead light, you should not see the stern light. Side lights, green on starboard, red on port, 112.5 degrees, basically half of that 235. Smaller boats, less than 20 meters, we can combine the light lanterns. Those are the exceptions we've been talking about. Stern lights, white lights placed on the stern, 135 degrees, or the rest of the circle. If you see the stern light, you should not see side lights or the masthead lights. When we see the stern light, we know that we're overtaking. When we see side lights, the masthead lights, we know we're in a crossing or head-on situation. Towing light, yellow, same characteristics as a stern light, except it's yellow. All around 360, white. Flashing lights is flashing at intervals 120 or more per minute, and this is what they look like. So we have our masthead light, our 225, facing forward. Not to be confused with an all-around, which is 360. Port, half of the masthead light. Starboard, half of the masthead light.
Carlos, he's having trouble logging on.
Just 1 second, we get Carlos on here. Okay. Stern light, towing light, yellow, same characteristics as our stern light. So those are our lights. Again, they tell us what side of the boat we're seeing at night so that we know, again, how to treat you. Are you stand on, give way, head on? Are we overtaking? That's what the lights tell us. Special flashing yellow, 50 to 70 flashes per minute, inland only. This is the light that we put on the front of barges. Stays as far forward as possible on the center line of a tow. And that's where it's located. So at night, somebody, one of the mates, takes that light, battery operated, goes out in the front of the boat, places it in the center, and attaches it, as well as those two side lights. Again, the special flashing light is only inland. It is not in international rules area. It's only in inland. Big boats have bright lights. Little boats have dim lights. Okay. When we talk about lights, we talk about standard light configuration. We take a standard configuration of a power-driven vessel, side lights, mast, and stern. And to that, we're going to add other lights. We're going to change the masted lights or add other lights where best can be seen to designate other vessels. But the key thing here is standard configuration is going to have side lights, mast, and stern. Again, lights are going to tell between stand on, give way, or neither, if they're underway or at anchor, or if there's dangers in passing the vessels. This is what the things the lights are going to tell us. So let's start with our power-driven vessel underway. Standard configuration, less than 50 meters. Masthead, facing forward, side lights, and stern. Pretty straightforward. And again, that's why we like to look at vessels that are not exceptions to the rule over 20 meters. Side lights, mast, and stern. Standard light configuration on many of the vessels. Less than 12 meters, exception. Basically, we can combine our masthead light and our stern light into one all around. But again, this is an exception to the rules. 50 meters or longer. We add that second masthead light abaft and higher. So second masthead light is behind us and higher than the front one. Why? It tells us our direction of travel. So in this picture here, we're pretty much sure which way we're going. Because the second one, masthead light, again, remember 225 degrees is abaft and higher at 50 meters or more. Our direction of travel. Obviously, this is one of our bigger boats, and we can see the two masthead lights, the front one and the back one, which is again abaft and higher. Hang on one second, we got to help Carlos here just for a minute. I know, I just saw him again, he was there. When you want to try to use a different address or whatever, email address or whatever, just see if it works. I really don't know what's happening. I am recording everything for him. Oh, there he is again. Okay, sorry about that. Again, here's our masthead light that's abaft and higher, and our side lights. So 50 meters is where it changes. Beyond that, there is no difference. So if we have an orc carrier that's 1,000 feet long, we get about 800 feet between the front and the back masthead light. Here's what they look like, again, head-on, abaft and higher. Obviously, from our position here, because we're lower down, the parallax does such that it looks like it's lower, but in reality, as you saw, it is higher. Okay, power-driven vessels operate on the Great Lakes can combine the all-around lights, stern and second masthead lights. Air cushion vessels that are non-displacement mode will have the flashing yellow as well. International only. Less than 7 meters, maximum of 7 knots speed, can have the single white all around. Ideally, if they can exhibit side lights, great. But otherwise, all they have is that one all-around light. This is international only, so we would not see this inside the Coal Lakes line. Power-driven includes towing. We still want to know a lot about tugboats because they do present a danger, and with that danger, we need to know how they're towing. So what we have is a series of different lights, again, to differentiate if it's a stern tow, hip, or pushing ahead. And this does differ substantially between inland and international rules. Power-driven vessels that are towing have no special status. They are still classified as a power-driven vessel. So as far as stand on, give way, all those, they're treated as a power-driven vessel. On the other hand, these are big boats. You don't want to get in front of them if you can avoid it. Okay. Power-driven, towing stern, will exhibit the following, both inland and international rules. There is no change. 2 masthead lights in a vertical line says that we're towing. Side lights, stern light, and on top of the stern light, we have our towing light. So what we've done here is we've added 2 lights. We've added a second masthead light. So 2 masthead lights in a vertical line says we're towing. So when you're coming up on a boat, you see the 2 masthead lights. Okay, I know they're towing. Now, how are they towing? Side lights on all boats, so you know which side of the boat we're looking at. So over the stern, I have the yellow over white. And the way I like to say it, it's yellow over white. We're not alone tonight. You've got to find out who's back here. We extend the tow back 200 meters, so a long ways back there. We add our first day shape, which is the diamond, and we add our third masthead light. We also put a diamond on the object being towed. It's way back there. So the way I do it is the first masthead light is our power-driven. Second one says I'm towing. The third light, masthead light, says that we're a big tow, back 200 meters or more. On the stern, what are we seeing? The yellow over white, seeing the towing light over the stern. That tells us there's something back here, and we better find out where it is because we don't want to hit the tow line. Yellow over white, we're not alone tonight. The object being towed has skylights and stern. It does not have a masthead light. In fact, there's 3 boats that do not have masthead lights when underway because they are not powered, not under command. An object being towed and sailing do not have masthead lights. If they're not powered by machinery, they do not have masthead lights. So the object being towed is going to be skylights and stern. Greater than 200 meters back, we have the diamond. Each boat in that tow back there has to be lit for obvious reasons. So here again we are. Here's our towing. We're towing astern. I see my yellow over white. It says, hey, I better look back here, find that other boat. The other boat, all I may see is the stern light. That's it. So I'm going to have to understand that relationship and that there's something between the two of them, which is a big hauser. Difference between inland and Great Lakes, and this light is slightly in error. I thought I fixed it. There is, the tow light is on the stern of the tug on both inland as well as international rules. So I would have skylights, my double masthead, my yellow over white, and then the 2 skylights and stern for the tow. And I have no idea why I dropped those colors. They did. Okay. Composites. We have a couple of these up on the Great Lakes. Composites that are put together like this, Coast Guard cutters that are attached to the buoy tenders are composites. They are lit as one vessel. This particular vessel is not properly lit. It's illegally lit because it shows the double masthead lights as that we're towing. In reality, it's a composite. It should only be lit as a standard vessel. Okay, pushing ahead, towing alongside. Inland, international vary tremendously. On international rules, we still have our 2 masthead lights that say we're towing, skylights, but on the stern, we have a stern light. There are no yellows, no towing lights. We only have towing lights. We have basically standard configuration is what we have. Inland, we have our skylights, our double masthead, and 2 yellows. Yellow over yellow, we're a pushy fellow. International, on the hip, we're pushing in front. There's a stern light, there are no yellows. Inland, there's no stern light, and we have 2 yellows. Big difference. So when you're crossing from inland, international into inland rules, we're going to turn off the stern and turn on 2 towing lights. When we're on the hip, we're pushing ahead. Big difference. In fact, the only yellow you have on our international and towing is the towing astern. We have the yellow over white. Otherwise, there are no yellow lights in towing international rules. So here we have a pushing ahead or along the side. We can see at night. There's our 2 yellow lights. These are 2 masthead lights. In a vertical line, it says that, hey, we're towing. First one says we're power, second we're towing. The only time the 3rd masthead light is added is when the tow drops back 200 meters or more. Okay, let's talk about, and what I like to do is I like to light the tugboat first and the barge second. Don't try lighting them together, you light them second. Tugboat, skylights, double masthead, triple masthead, and then towing lights over stern lights. The object being towed under international is skylights and stern. Inland, when it's on the hip, we add the special flashing yellow in front. So we have our stern lights, our side lights, and now we're adding that special flashing yellow on the hip or in front. And again, it's simply an added warning to people that this is a large barge coming down at you at night, and that you have to be aware that what's in front of you. So inland rules only, we have the special flashing yellow on the front of the barge when it's on the hip or pushed ahead. The barge directly ahead of the tug is going to have side lights, special flashing, and no stern. Why? A, it's blocked by the tug, and B, it may take away the night vision for the pilot, helmsman. If there are added barges on the side, then at that time they may well have stern lights on them. The whole barge assembly is lit as one vessel, so there's going to be one set of side lights, one special flashing yellow, and then the back, if it's on one side, it'll have a stern light. If they split the tugboat and there's a barge on both sides, they'll both have a stern light. Let people approach and know that there's something there. Okay, here's our difference again, pushing ahead. International rules, we have side lights and stern. Once we cross into inland waters, we turn off the stern, and we have our double yellows, yellow over yellow, pushy fellow. Big difference. And again, the special flashing on front of the barge. It's one of the big differences between inland and international rules is right there. Okay, an inconspicuous, partially submerged object has all around white lights at the ends, and about every 25 meters we add additional all arounds. Diamond at the extreme, and at night we show a searchlight to show the relationship. This is what they are. This is types of the grogs, so that they can move oil out of areas into harbors which may not have good harborage. You can see on top of one on land, you can see the white lights every 25 meters. Huey P. Long. Huey P. Long was mayor, of course, of New Orleans, and saw the ships going up the river, not stopping at New Orleans. So he built a bridge. The bridge was built low enough the freighters could not go up the river system. They had to stop at New Orleans. So when they stopped at New Orleans, that's where all the petroleum, chemical, and all the other industries really started coming into being, because they could not proceed further north of the bridge. So there's a rule adopted that if you're north of the Huey P. Long Bridge on the western rivers, you do not need a masthead light. It's only on tugboats. So you're going to have side lights and the double yellow. No masthead lights. Where? On the western rivers up north of the Huey P. Long Bridge. No masthead. If you normally are not engaged in towing, we want to show the lights or relationship such that people know that there's a line between our boat and the boat behind us. Indicate the nature of relationship at night, a searchlight, a flashlight, anything to show that relationship. Okay, here's our tugboat again. We have our 3 masthead lights. First one says power, second one says tow, third one says big tow, 200 meters or more. Side lights are day shape, and on the stern we have our 2 yellows, 2 towing lights, and the stern light. So again, when we're going on stern tows, coming through on stern tows, inland, international, inland, we still have the yellow over white. It does not change. But when we're pushing ahead or on the hip, international, there's a stern light. Once we cross that magic Colex line, we turn off the stern and add the 2 yellow tow lights. Big difference. The special flashing yellow, inland rules on the hip or in front. The only yellow in international rules is when we towing the stern. Yellow or white, we're not alone tonight. Yellow over yellow, we're a pushy fellow. Okay. So that gives us our power-driven vessels, including our towboats. Okay, Mike, did I answer your question about the yellows? Okay. Again, it's a big point, and if you think of it as international, the only yellow we have is on the stern toe. Inland is where we got the double yellows in the back and a special flashing in front. Okay, sailboats. Remember now, sailboats mean they are sails up and no motor running. Otherwise, it's not a sailboat, it's a power-driven vessel. We have sidelights, we have a stern, and we have the optional red over green. Why no masthead light? It is not powered. Sidelights, stern, and the optional light, red over green. Red over green sailing machine. Standard light configuration, but no masthead light, optional light. Now, sailboats do not have a day shape. A boat that is motor sailing does. It's cone, apex down. And it simply says that this is a boat that appears to be a sailboat, but really it's a power-driven vessel and therefore treated as a power-driven vessel. So again, sailboats do not have day shapes. Boats that are motor sailing do. Basically, power-driven vessel with sails up. Vessels less than 7 meters, under oars, if practical, exhibit sidelights and stern light. If not, then they shall have a lit lantern or electric torch available. Basically a flashlight that can be used to shine on the sails to let people know that, in fact, there's a boat there. So less than 7 meters or under oars, paddles, whatever. Again, if not practical, at least a lit lantern or electric torch. Check with state regulations. Every regulation is a little bit different. Every state's a little bit different. Okay, our next one up is fishing or trawling, but not trolling. Remember, the gear has to restrict its ability to comply with the rules. We're seeing long lines, drift nets, purse strings, trawlers. There's a lot of things that are out there that will restrict their ability. Therefore, they can claim the status of either fishing or trawling. Other than trawling, typical Great Lakes boat, we have 2 lights in a vertical line, red over white, lines are in sight, and one making way, sidelights and stern. Now I'll go back to that. Here's the day shape. The day shape is the cones, apex to apex, and it's right over the cabin, right next to the sidelights. Trawling is not fishing by definition. Trolling, rather, is not fishing by definition. Red over white, lines are in sight. Day shape is 2 cones, apex to apex. Now, trawlers are different than fishing in the sense that they're dragging dredges or nets behind and they're moving. So therefore, we want to know that, and we differentiate between fishing by now going to green over white. Green over white, nets are in sight. Sidelights and stern. Again, what we're doing is we're replacing that masthead light with a combination all around, either red over white or green over white. Day shape, 2 cones, apex to apex for both. And if we have gear out more than 150 meters, we either have a white light at night or a cone apex upward. So here we can see the double cones, apex, apex. They're fishing or trawling. Gear up more than 150 meters, single cone, apex up. You get into fishing areas, you want to be very much aware of this because then you have a lot of gear out a long ways. Okay, here's a boat. This is one of the Great Lake, the Wisconsin fish research boats. White 2 lights at the top because they can either trawl, as you see the configuration, they can either do fishing or they can do trawling as part of their research. So depending upon what they're doing, they will vary the light, either green over white or red over white. Constraint by draft, our only international only boat. Once it gets into the inland areas, then it's no longer constraint by draft. It's just a big boat that has to comply with those rules. power driven, constrained by draft, may display, if it wants to claim that privilege, 3 all-around red lights in a vertical line. So we got 3 lights in a vertical line, and the day shape is cylinder, rudders, rubbing, rocks. Please do not confuse this with a ground. The day shape for a ground is 3 black balls. A lot of people say, oh, 3 red lights, 3 black balls. No. 3 red lights, constrained by draft cylinder. The way I equate it is, what do we get? Our beer in? Draft. So basically, cylinder, think of constrained by draft. Again, international only, side lights and mast and stern for appropriate size. Example of a big boat. This one drafts 42 feet. That's a lot. And it's, they draft a lot of water. Think of the ore carrier, not just all the ore carriers, but out in the ocean, think of the tankers, how much they actually draft. Constraint, restricting ability to maneuver. Why? The nature of our work. They're doing work out there. So what we're going to do, dive operations, transferring cargo, anything in which restricts your ability to comply with the rules. Normally does not include towing. Red, white, red over a working man's head. So we have 2 red lights with a white light between them. And again, those are placed where best can be seen. So when making way, we have our side light, stern, masthead, our standard configuration. And of course, for anchor, we have our anchor ball, which we'll talk about a little bit. Day shape is ball, diamond, ball. Okay, here's an example. Here's our ball, diamond, ball of a dredge, operating dredge. Here's one out on Green Bay where they have the spuds down and they're doing the dredging. Here's our ball, diamond, ball, a red, white, red, and at the top will be an anchor light because these boats are not powered. Towing is normally not considered restricting ability to maneuver, but if they're severely restricted, they can claim that privilege by showing the day shape, ball, diamond, ball, or by showing the lights red, white, red, where best can be seen. Here's an example. Here's a cutter pulling in a very large boat. Restricting ability to maneuver? You bet. On the cutter, you can see the 3 day shapes here. The ball, diamond, ball says, hey, we're restricted. And you can see the diamond where it says, hey, we're towing back to more than 200 meters. On the boat being towed, you can't quite see it as good, but you will see the 2 balls that says we're not under command. Okay, dredges, as long as we're talking about dredges, underwater operations, there's a couple other things that we need to know. If there's dangers on a dredge operation, we do not want you to go on that side. We are going to show, let me back up here. 2 red lights, the vertical line, 2 black balls say danger on that side, obstruction, do not go there. And by the way, these 2 red lights are going to show up 4 different times. 2 green lights, 2 diamonds, pass on this side. And of course, our ball, diamond, ball that says that we're working. Underwater operations, divers down. At night, we're going to have the red, white, red. But during the day, so the ball, diamond, ball, we're going to use the alpha flag. The alpha flag stays on the boat. The alpha flag stays on the boat, indicate that it's participating in an underwater operation and it's restricted. What stays with the divers is the red with the diagonal white stripe. This is where the divers are. Mine clearing operation. 3 green lights, 3 balls out on the front of the boat. It's dangerous to stay at least 1,000 meters away. Green, 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 extreme. So we've gone from power to sail to fishing, constrained by draft, restricted, and our top special boat is not under command. The vessel not under command is not able, because of special circumstances, comply with the rules. So here we take off the masthead light and replace with two all-arounds, 2 red lights or 2 balls. Red over red, the captain is dead. When making way, they will also show side lights and stern, but again, no masthead light. Here we see an example of a Canadian boat in open waters. Fuel clogged up the engine. Engine cannot operate. What do we see? The 2 black balls up in the mast. A couple other special boats that are out there that are power driven and have no special privileges, but we would like to know what they are. White over red, pilots making bread. Again, the upper one's white, the lower one's red. Side lights and stern. And if they had anchored, of course, the anchor shape, which we'll talk more about in a moment. Now, why this special designation? Pilots, of course, are professional captains that are brought up to other boats to guide them into a harbor. The designation, the white over red, and the special fog signals are simply to find where they are, to locate them. It does not give them any special privileges whatsoever. In essence, they are a taxi cab taking out an experienced captain. White over red, the pilot's making bread. Seaplanes, again, as close as we can to comply with the rules on it, and they comply fairly well with our boat rules. So, okay, that takes us through our boat lights, and what it's telling us is that how do I tell if you're special or not? If you're special, you have a special arrangements of either day shapes or lights to let me know that. Out on the highway, what do we see? We see flashing yellow lights, say, hey, this is a highway crew. They put up their yellow diamonds out there, say, hey, work ahead. Same thing with these boats. What we're doing is by day shapes and by lights telling you their difference. We're telling you what their open water status is. Okay, now we have our boats that are not underway, which means they are anchored aground or moored. Vessel less than 50 meters, we have our anchor, our day shape, which is the ball, and 1 all-around white light. These are not masthead lights. Masthead lights are 225 facing forward. These are all-arounds. Day shape, single ball. 50 meters or more in length, we add the second second all-around. First one is the forward. The second one is abaft and lower. Remember, with the masthead light, it's abaft and higher, but with anchor lights, it's abaft and lower, and they are all-arounds, not masthead lights. So that's at 50. At 100 meters, we add lights to the deck. You guys have seen the door carriers. You can imagine when they're parked and they're 800, 900, 1,000 feet long with 2 little anchor lights, a lot of black space. That is why we, at 100 meters, we ask that the lights be added. Makes sense. So we're at anchor. Either it's always a single ball, one anchor light under 50, 2 anchor lights, 50 to 100, 100 or more deck lights. What if we have the misfortune of running our ship aground? We have the same anchor lights, 1, 2, and deck lights, whatever it may be, but we add in a vertical line the 2 red lights, which says that we're not under command. So when we're at anchor, we have our anchor lights and the 2 red lights. If we're not under command, underway, we have our side lights and stern and the 2 red lights. So what differs between under command and aground are what other lights we have, either navigation lights or the anchor lights. The day shape, we take 1 ball from at anchor, we take the 2 balls for not under command. 1 plus 2 gives us 3. So 3 balls in a vertical line say that we are aground. Do not get that confused with not constraint by draft. Constraint by draft, we have the 3 red lights and the day shape's a cylinder. Here we have the 2 red lights and appropriate anchors, and the day shape is 3 balls in a vertical line. This is one that people really kind of mess up on the exams. Keep that in mind. And again, here's a ship that's obviously aground. Up on the mast there, we see the 3 balls. It says it's ground. Vessels less than 7 meters, out of the way, back up in the little cuddy holes, do not have to exhibit lights or shapes. Vessels under 12 meters that are ground don't have to have special shapes. Less than 20 meters in a special anchorage area designated by the Secretary is not required to have lights, shapes, or sounds. So when don't we have lights, shapes, and sounds for under 20 meters in an area designated by the Secretary? If we're less than 7 meters, any place up all the way of normal traffic, we don't have to have lights. And that takes us through our lights and our shapes. And again, we're going to come back and cover this a little bit later again. Any particular questions with the lights? A lot of information. Okay. Again, please keep in mind why we have the lights. The lights are going to show us our direction of travel. They're going to show us what side of the boat we're seeing, and it's going to help us very much determine, are you special or not? And I like to use the word special. If you're special, then you're going to have a special day shape, you're going to have special lights, and special sounds. Okay. I'm going to flip over right away then to our next one, which is going to be sounds. So we've done our rules. We know how we're going to respond when we're underway. We know how we're going to respond when we can see you, including open water. Now I've looked at shapes and lights to tell me who you are. Now we're going to add sounds. Sounds help us both with maneuvering and help identify situations in restricted visibility. Okay, whistles basically by Appendix 3 makes an appropriate sound. Short is 1 second in duration. Prolong, 4 to 6 seconds in duration. There are no longs. The long is on the Western River locks. When the lockmaster wants you to get out, they blow a long blast. For navigation, for our rules, it's either a short blast of 1 second or a prolonged blast of 4 to 6. There are no longs. Less than 12 meters, we can have bells and whistles, but we have basically an effective sound-making device. So boats that are less than 12, again, they can have bells, whistles, and all this good stuff. But what are they required? They're required to have an effective sound-making device that can make the sounds that are required. 12 to 20 meters inland, we have bells and whistles. 12 to 20 meters international, it's a rule change, only a whistle. And people say, well, if they have a whistle, then they're compliant with inland rules. I kind of disagree. If you're less than between 12 and 20 meters, the law in inland waters, that's where you operate. The law says you need a bell and whistle. You need a bell and whistle. But again, 12 to 20 international only, you just need a whistle. 20 or more, whistles and bells. Our next big change comes in at 100 meters, and that's our gong. And I don't know if you guys have done any boat inspections, but that's what it looks like. There's a big gong in the back with a hammer, and this is their manual response should the auto system not work. Okay. Inside of you, I can see with my eyes, within 1/2 mile and underway. All three conditions must be met. So I can see you within a 1/2 mile and we're underway in a crossing or meeting situation inland. I'm going to give you one short blast. One short blast is I intend to leave you on my port side. If you remember one short my port, everything else makes sense. Two shorts, I intend to leave you on my starboard side. So one, you're going to see my port. Two, you're going to see my starboard. Three is stern propulsion. It means we put the engines in reverse. Where do we use this? Well, one's backing away from a dock, but another example is at a bridge where we have the tidal currents and other currents, and we have to stop for the bridge to open, and we have to put the boat in stern propulsion to hold our position. That's three shorts. So when we're waiting, we want the people behind us to know that we're holding position by stern propulsion, and we let them know by, again, sounding three short blasts. Upon hearing one or two, the other boat, if in agreement, responds with the same. So if I give you a short and I'm going to show you my port or our maneuvering, you agree with that, you give me a short back. If you disagree with me, you're going to give 5 or more short blasts. Danger doubt is 5 or more short blasts. Now, gentlemen, I want to bring up a point here, and it amazes me because I bring this up in other classes and people still get it wrong. Danger doubt is when I can see you. It is a maneuvering signal. It is not a distress signal. Danger doubt is a maneuvering signal and not a distress. Danger doubt can only be used when I can see you with my eyes. It cannot be used in the fog when I cannot see you. And it is not a distress signal. Overtaking, inland. We're passing another boat. One short blast says, I'm going to overtake you on your starboard side. What side are you going to see? My port. One short. I'm going to overtake you on your port side. What are you going to see? My starboard. 2. When you read questions and look at situations, am I talking about your boat or am I talking about her boat? If I'm overtaking her on her port, it's 2 shorts because she's going to see my starboard. If I'm overtaking her on my port, 1, because it's my port. So again, make sure, keep in mind, is it hers or yours? If in agreement, again, we reiterate the same signal back. We can also reach by basic radio. Most of the stuff now is done by radio. We don't do the signals. Now, let's talk about international. Big change now. Just like tugboats was a big change, international and whistles is a big change. They vary greatly between the two. Under international, it says, I am altering my course to starboard. It's 1 short. Normally, if I alter my course to starboard, there's a fairly good chance you're going to see my port, 1 short. 2 short blasts. I'm altering course to my port. Most likely, what you're going to see is my starboard. Operating stern propulsion is 3. The other vessel is not obligated to respond. Danger doubt may be used depending upon the situation. So again, inland is, I'm going to show you my port. International 1 short says I'm altering course to starboard, which means most likely you're going to see my port. 2 short, you're going to see my starboard. International, I'm altering course to port, and probably going to see my starboard side. Stern propulsion is the same. Danger doubt may or may not be used. Big differences. The other big difference is overtaking, and this is one that causes some issues. When I overtake on inland, you're going to get 1 or 2 shorts depending upon what side of the boat I'm going to show you. In international rules, when I'm overtaking, I add 2 prolongs followed by what I'm going to do with you. So here I intend to overtake you on your starboard, which means you're going to see my port, 1 short. I start out with the 2 prolongs followed by the 1. If you're going to overtake you on your port, my starboard, you can see the 2 prolongs followed by the 2 shorts. If you agree with me, under inland, we're doing the basic repeating the signal back to you. Under international, we do not. We use 1 prolong, 1 short, 1 prolong, 1 short to indicate agreement. So if I'm out on international waters and I hear 1 prolong, 1 short, 1 prolong, 1 short, basically somebody's agreeing with another vessel on how they're going to be overtaken. So again, under international, on overtaking, we always start with the 2 prolongs followed by the 1 or 2, and the response back is 1 prolong, 1 short, 1 prolong, 1 short. Around the bend we talked about earlier. If you can't see around the bend, you give out a prolonged blast to let the other vessels know. Upon hearing that, they will give you a long blast back, and then you use your appropriate maneuvering signals. Okay. Leaving a dock. Inland only, 1 prolong. So would I hear a prolong up from a boat leaving the dock under international rules? No. If a boat was backing off of a dock on the inland, I'd hear 1 prolong saying, hey, we're about ready to leave. And sometime afterward, when I put it into stern propulsion, you would hear my 3 shorts. Under international, if I'm backing off of a dock, you're going to hear the 3 shorts just simply said I'm in stern propulsion. There's not that warning that the boat's about to leave. Inter and air restricted visibility. Okay, that once we just did, whereas I can see you with my eyes. These are maneuvering signals. 1 short, 2 shorts, 3, 5 danger boat. International, 1, 2, or 3. I'm going to port. I'm going to starboard. Dangered out. Overtaking. Yeah, 2 prolongs followed by 1 or 2 shorts. Agreement. 1 prolong, short, prolong, short. Now, let's go over to restricted visibility. I cannot see you. If I cannot see you, I cannot use any maneuvering signals. I can only warn you of my location and who I am. Power-driven vessels making way. You're underway making way. 1 prolong every 2 minutes. Power-driven vessels underway not making way. 2 words, not making way. 2 prolongs. So if I'm stopped, I'm not being propelled, I'm drifting, 2 prolongs every 2 minutes. This is the other one that people really mess up on, and I mean badly. Again, power-driven vessels underway, but stopped, not making way. It doesn't say they're disabled. It simply says that they're drifting. 2 prolongs. Now, all other of our special boats, remember our special boats we went through with the special lights? Guess what? They all have a prolong and 2 shorts, including towing. So if I'm out there and I hear a prolong and 2 shorts in the fog, I know it's a special boat. I have no idea what it is. It can be non-command, it could be restricted, it could be fishing, it could be constrained by draft, it could be sailing, or it could be a big tug operation. I have no idea. So all special boats that we listed here are prolong and 2 shorts. Power driven, 1 or 2 prolongs, making way, not making way. These boats, no matter what they're doing, making way or not making way, have the prolong and 2 shorts. Every vessel that's not just power driven, plain power driven boat. Okay. Last boat in a man tow. Intervals more than 2 minutes, a prolong and 3. So what I'm going to hear is a prolong and 2 from the tugboat, and if the last boat in the string of things he's towing in, that person's on it, I will hear a prolong and 3. So I get a prolong in 2 followed by a prolong in 3. Again, only if it's manned and only if it's the last boat in the run. Pilot. Remember we said a pilot boat's nothing more than a power-driven vessel, but it's special in the sense that people got to find it so we can get this captain on and off the boat. So it will normally give you in a fog its maneuvering signals of 1 or 2 prolongs because it's power-driven vessels. However, once it wants to be found, it's going to give you a prolong and 4 shorts. So a power-driven vessel pilot wants to be found in the fog, it will add the 4 shorts to its fog signals. Otherwise, it's just 1 or 2 prolongs. Okay, not underway. Anchored, moored, or aground. Not underway is anchored, moored, or aground. Basically, we're not floating free. A bell. Ring a bell every minute for 5 seconds. There's no 50 meters in this one. At 100 meters, now we have a big boat at anchor. We're going to ring a gong. So we got a bell at one end, we have a gong on the other. Bell rings for 5 seconds, the gong rings for 5 seconds. A vessel at anchor of any size may warrant an approaching vessel that it's anchored by a short, prolonged short. So this is the only whistle that's used when not underway. Otherwise, it's a bell or a gong. In this case, the whistle short, prolonged, short is only when you want to warn somebody of approaching vessel that we're at anchor. Aground. We're dumb ship, dumb ship, dumb ship. I ran my ship aground. We have 3 balls up there, and I hit the bell 3 distinctive times. Click, 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 ring the bell, and then I bang on that bell 3 more times to sync the clicks. And that gives us basically we're aground. Vessel less than 12 meters, effective sound making device. Special anchorage area designated by the secretary, no lights, no sounds, no one's at home, we're gone. And that brings us to our sounds. So, if I can see you, it always starts with a short, except international passing. We have 2 prolongs followed by the 1 or 2 shorts. Otherwise, in all maneuvering signals, when I can see with my eyeballs, it starts with a short. It's got to, except international overtaking. In the fog, around a bend, leaving a dock, any place I cannot see you, it must start with a prolong. It's that simple. A prolong tells me, again, it's something that's going to carry in the fog longer distances. So 1 prolong underway, making way, 2 prolongs underway, not making way. Prolong in 2 shorts, all our special boats. Prolong in 3, a manned tow. And when a pilot wants to be found, prolong in 4. At anchor, it must begin with a bell. So if I can see it's a short, if I can't see it's a prolong, and if I'm not underway, anchor, moored, or ground, it starts with a bell. 5 seconds of a bell, less than 100 meters. Bell and a gong, equal to or greater than 100 meters. A ground, 3 distinct hits of the bell, before and after ringing the bell. And finally, the short, prolonged, short for the optional signal. Those are sound. Again, if you break them down that way, it makes sense. Top one here, we're going to show port to port, 1 short, starboard to starboard, 2. I'm turning. I'm going to show you my port side. Even though I'm turning to starboard, you can see my port side, 1 short. International only, again, 1, 2, or 3, but the other vessel does not respond. Overtaking, inland, 2 shorts, you're going to see my starboard, 1 short, you're going to see my port. International, 2 prolongs, 2 shorts. I'm going to show you my starboard response back is at prolong, short, prolong, short. Same thing on the other side. You're going to see my port side, 2 prolongs followed by the 1. They are in agreement, the long, short, prolong, short. So this is the one that really differentiates from many of the other ones. Maneuvering starts with a short, restricted visibility, round the bend, leaving a dot, prolong. Anchor starts with a bell. Those are our sound signals. Again, they tell us either our maneuvering or the fog. They tell us who we are. The last couple of items, attract attention. Again, any lights we use to attract attention cannot be mistaken for our maneuvering lights. We cannot embarrass another vessel. This is our arcane term, mean hamper or impede the passage of. So we cannot use our lights to impede the passage of another vessel. Distress. Main ones we look at in distress are the flare pistols, red flare pistols, continuous sounding of a fog horn. It gets pretty irritating. Think of car alarms. The flag, the orange flag with the ball in a square, waving of the arms properly, orange smoke. I always make the comment, if you're out there firing a gun, 1 shot every minute, I'm not coming over to look for you. Not in this day and age. Fire on the deck. So those are the main ones that we have for distress. Inland. Inland only. 50 to 7 flashes per minute of a white intense light, strobe light, distress. And this is a video that's not going to play. Okay. Now, I covered a lot of information here on sounds and lights. Any questions? Any concerns? Any consternations? Now, what I did is, because Carlos asked me this a little bit earlier, we recorded all 4 of these presentations, and then I will send you the links as soon as we're done here. And if you want to go back, you can go back and listen to them. What I have is, it's not quite 2 o'clock your time. I want to do 2 very short presentations on rules, and I like to call it a day at that point. If we can, I like tomorrow start at 10 and work through plotting. Would that work for you, gentlemen? Okay. Let me run through real quickly here again, 2 little apparent parts of this rules, just to kind of hammer home the points. These are things that I find in class that people have some problems with. Here's our boats, open water items. New reels catch fish is the mnemonic that we use. These are the special boats, not our command, restricted, constraint by draft, fishing, sailing. Again, sailing is not under power, plus towing. We tell the difference by day shapes, by lights, and sounds of our special boats. Not our command, we are 2 red lights, 2 balls, prolong, 2 shorts for fog signal. Restricting ability to maneuver. Why? The nature of her work. Red, white, red for lights, ball, diamond, ball for day shape, prolong, 2 shorts. Again, constraint by draft, international only. 3 red lights, not to be confused with the 3 black balls for a ground. Day shape's a cylinder, prolong, 2 shorts. No consistency there. Fishing or troweling, red over white, green over white, cones, apex, apex, prolong, and 2 shorts. Gear out more than 150 meters, apex up. Sailing. There is no day shape for sailing. Only motor sailing, which is the cone, apex down. Optional red or green, sides and stern, no day shape, prolong, 2 shorts. Towing, 2 or 3 mast headlights in a vertical line. Yellow lights at the stern, yellow or white, we're towing behind stern. 2 yellows, we're pushing ahead, inland only. Diamond over 200 meters, and guess what? Are prolonged in 2 shorts. Standard config, side lights, mast, and stern. Not under command. Again, no masthead lights. If you're not powered, no masthead lights. Sail, towed, rest being towed, not under command. Special ones, police is blue, flashing blue light special. Public service is flashing yellow and red. Pilots got our white over red. All special boats, to let you know where they are, no special privileges. At anchor, none for an area designated by the secretary or less than 7 meters out of the way. 1 anchor light all around, less than 50, 50 to 100. Deck lights over 100. Three lights. Oh, forget it. I don't want to put that in there. Okay, those are our lights. The last one I want to do quickly here. Exemptions. Difference between the 2 sets of rules: inland, international, international only. These are things that we're going to look at. You can go into depth of the differences. Like I say, literally it takes us a semester. International applies to all vessels upon the high seas and interconnecting waters thereof. Inland, basically inside the coal rigs line. Wing and ground, again, it's an international vessel. Constraint by draft is international vessel. This is one of the little nuances. You're not going to probably run into it too much on the exams, but inland rules, you shall sound danger doubt if there's a danger doubt situation. International rules in narrow channel, you may sound it, and then later on it contradicts it in the rules. Again, responsibility, constraint by draft, wing and ground. Constraint by draft is a 3rd boat down and open water priority. And wing and ground is treated as a power gearing vessel. International only, max speed, 7 knots, size less than 7 meters. We can have an all-around white light, international only. Towing, masthead lights, vertical line, side lights, and stern. No towing light when we're on the hip or pushing ahead. So when we're, again, pushing, there are no yellows in international. When we get into inland rules, the 2 yellows at the back and the yellow in the front of barge. Same thing here. Inland rules, we have our towing light over our stern light. It does not change at all between the 2 sets of rules. That's the only one that's consistent, and it's the only situation which we have a yellow light is international rules, towing astern. Constraint by draft is our 3 red lights or cylinder. Bell is dropped again between international rules. They don't have the bell between 12 and 20 meters. Signals, I am altering course to port versus I'm going to leave you on my starboard or port side. You mean the same thing, just worded differently. Again, in doubt, 5 or more. Leaving a dock, inland required, international not. And the signal, this is one of the bigger ones, 2 prolongs followed by 1 or 2 shorts when I'm going to overtake you versus just the 1 prolong or 1 short or the 2 shorts. And the response is that 1 prolong, 1 short, 1 prolong, 1 short. And again, obligated signals, I'm not too worried about that. The Strobe lights is permitted. The interesting thing, it says inland rules, strobe lights are not permitted, but a strobe light is a distress signal in inland rules only. And that is the differences between them. Okay, I will, once we're done here, I will take care of the recording. I will forward it to everybody. And then we'll pick up tomorrow at 10 your time. And we're going to go through the basic essence of plotting. If you have questions, either call me or drop me an email, and I'll do my best to answer. But this gives you a pretty good all-around on the rules. This is the way I teach it in class. And you can go back through those presentations if you want. It'll give you a good thing. Okay? I'll talk to you later.